Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Frank. I'm Frank.
And I'm Jack.
And welcome to the show. It's going to be a very good one because the Duran brothers have to get together to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the brand new Star Wars, Rogue One, because we just saw it.
And we're going to talk about a lot of the different aspects of Star Wars and how this saga now kind of moves forward, and how you should watch it, how the whole universe connects together, and what is coming up down the line. So first, I just kind of want to talk about that. Like, me and my brother have been watching Star Wars since way back. We have a history of watching tons and tons of Star Wars. Our father introduced us at a very young age. We're deep fans. Definitely, our family is very much Trekkies more than they are Star Wars fans, but at the same time...
definitely at the same time, I think Star Wars fans as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think everyone can be a Star Wars fan.
I'm a big Star Wars fan.
And I think that that Rogue One really brings the whole and Force Awakens brings that whole fan base together of just like old Star Wars fans, new Star Wars fans that were hurt from the prequels. They're bringing them all together just to be like, hey, it's still Star Wars, guys. But what I want to talk about first is that I think moving forward, there's a way to watch these films if you're being first introduced to them. Say you're showing it to a kid, an ignorant friend, and we'll just say ignorant. We won't call them stupid. They're not stupid. Don't call them stupid. It's mean. They're just ignorant. They just haven't seen the glory of the wars of stars.
The drama. But also, like, if you're just one of those people who just hasn't seen Star Wars, like, just take our advice. Let's just watch it. Which way would you watch it?
The way I would watch it is that if I was showing it to, like, say, my kid, Francis Jr., I would be like, we would watch Star Wars Episode 4 first. Episode 5, because that's the best one, and that would get you the most intrigued. Then go back and watch 1, 2, 3, and then Rogue One, and then 6...
Force
Awakens, because I think you need to see Rogue One to be scared of what Darth Vader can do in episode 6 and 7. Like, I mean, not 7, but 6. You know, like it's kind of like it completes that scary vision, because yes, you see him all beaten and you kind of know what he's going to do later in the series, but if you're coming back that way, it's such a cool way to connect that how dangerous Darth Vader can be, you know, like, and I mean, obviously we're going to talk spoilers when we get to each movie, so if you haven't seen these movies, let me put that down there, because I'm not going to...
Spoiler alert.
Just as, I mean, obviously, but like...
We're going to talk about Star Wars. If you haven't seen Star Wars, spoiler alert. Stop. Like, if you don't want to know something, don't watch. Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it, that's the way you should watch it.
You should totally watch it that way.
But you have a different opinion on it. How would you think to show somebody who's never seen it before?
I mean, I like that way, but I would also choose a way to go. Like, if you've never seen it, I would probably recommend doing like 1 through 7, like watching it in order, like, of the timeline
of the actual, like, George Lucas, like episode 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, episode 1, 2, 3, Rogue One,
4, 5, 6, and then
7.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I just see some problems with that. I feel like it's kind of crazy to watch it that way, because it's just like, start with garbage.
Yeah, but then if you do that right now, you can see episode 8 when it comes out in next December.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you read all the books in a row,
kind of. You just kind of like read the books in a row kind of deal. You watch the movies in a row kind of deal with the story timeline. It's just doing the timeline instead of doing the
and I mean,
any other thing.
And I get that, but the problem is, I think that Phantom Menace is sort of a wreck, and Clone Wars is an awful mess.
I mean, let's start talking about episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, let's actually just go through your way, because that's the way we should talk about it in this episode.
We'll just talk about it in the timeline.
Yeah, in the timeline, because I think we should watch it that way, but this is the way I think we can review them and be very
Let's just review
thorough.
them in timeline order. How the things happen.
Yeah, I think absolutely. So, I mean, first one, Phantom Menace. I mean, I have a lot of feelings about this, but I mean, I want to hear what you have first.
Me first?
Yeah, you can go first for Phantom Menace. As guest, you could be Phantom Menace, because I know what to say, but I want to see what you got. Like,
sure.
What are your initial thoughts on Phantom Menace?
I mean, I would say that as a reboot to like the whole Star Wars universe, like, I think it's a good movie. I mean, the best choice they ever made was that they cast Liam Neeson as the main role.
I mean, obviously, and I think Ewan McGregor does a great job the entire time. I think it's a bad...
As a supporting actor.
I think it's a bad movie with some good parts. I think the parts with Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor and early Jedi and just a little bit of the Anakin stuff. The pod racing is almost unnecessary, but I see what the point is. It's trying to sell toys. George knew what he was doing.
I
and
like
he made
the sci-fi universe.
A ton of money off of that.
I still like the sci-fi universe about it.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem with it is that Jar Jar's a fucking, I think, is what purgatory's like. I'm pretty sure listening to...
Honest opinion?
Yeah, like Jar Jar Binks
like, no.
is what... I'm pretty sure God's like, well, you know, that's what you get. You know, you weren't good, you weren't bad, but boom! You know, I'm going to stick with Jar Jar Binks for fucking eternity until somebody prays you up or down. And you're just like, fuck that.
What a mistake of a character.
Oh my goodness. He thought it was going to be so funny. And I don't know why somebody didn't just go, this isn't funny, George. Like, why didn't, like...
Nobody stopped him.
Like, why didn't Spielberg just go, buddy, you're going to make $1 million. Don't annoy them with this, you know, like somebody needs, but I think that's the main problems with the first 3 episodes and 4 is that George is in charge. George should not, my opinion is that George should not be in charge. And you're like, okay. But getting back to it, episode 1, I think that.
But like, okay, yeah. Episode 1, one of the better villains.
Oh yeah, Darth Maul's great. I think he could have been so much more, and they make him so much more in Clone Wars and Rebels and so many other things in the comics and so much more. They almost had a canceled game. They canceled a game that was Darth Maul, and they showed stills the other day.
That's the news.
And it made me want to cry because it was just like beautiful Darth Maul art, and you're like, where the fuck is that stuff? Like, but it sounds super dark for Disney, so that's the reason why I don't think they did it. It sounds like it's a super dark, like, be a Sith game, so I don't think that Disney would approve of that so much. Like,
I guess not. I guess that's really why
they postponed this and the Boba Fett game, which are 2 very dark sounding games. You know, like it explores the dark side of Star Wars, which not the actual dark side of the Force, the actual dark side of the Star Wars universe,
which would be so much fun to play because it's just an add-on to the early universe being like it could have been good.
Yeah, right.
Like
it's
throughout the whole thing, it's like you're like, this could have been good,
right? It's just like, hey, this could have been crazy.
This could have been really good, but it just wasn't. And that makes me like want to edit out a lot of it. And then like add on like actual good things.
That's what I have to say about the first 3 films is that there's ways to make these films great. As somebody who went to school for film and who works as a camera guy and you know works in film stuff, I guess, is that you could cut out almost all of Natalie Portman and the film would still make sense and also still be actually pretty damn good. If you cut out the Gungans in the first one... Yeah,
take out all Gungans, including Jar Jar.
I think you could even just like... the first... Mostly I think that the first 2 movies should have been... They shouldn't have been 3 movies. There should have been 2. There should have been episode... It should have been the last 15 minutes of 1 where Anakin is somehow like convinced by the Jedi to help destroy a base and like shows he has Force abilities, you know, like, and Darth Maul, and you learn how like Obi-Wan comes in possession of having Anakin as an apprentice, and then you just show on 2 all the apprentice stuff and all that, and you cut out all the crap with Natalie Portman and like and Padme and all the Jar Jar crap. Like it's just like if you cut out all the fluff and just get to the battles in 2, and that could get it could become better.
And yeah, with the Empire, like the Emperor taking over, like that would be so much better
of a subplot for one movie instead of 3 movies.
Yes, that would be so good if the first 3 were just 2 movies.
Yeah, it's just like
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
where the Clone Wars is summed up in like a movie, and then like,
and they don't even sum it up well because you only get the Clone Wars for like the last 30 minutes, which is my problem with calling a movie Clone Wars when you got like the last 30 minutes, which is why they were able to do the animated show and for them to have so many episodes and so many stories to tell, because
I still have to watch a lot of that, but yeah, that looks really good.
I'm watching it right now and I really enjoy it. I think it's a good series, and I think if you want that kind of expansion on the story, and that's actually pretty good, the graphics are great. Watch that. It's a beautiful. You see cool lightsaber fights, cool space battles, cool ground battles. There's plenty of stuff. I mean, of course, check out the creator of Samurai Jack's Clone Wars series first.
Really?
That series is the fucking bomb diggity. You should watch that. It's better than episode 1 and 2, hands down. It's a great series. I can't even pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try because I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Forgive me.
But it's Samurai Jack Star Wars.
Yeah, it's Samurai Jack Star Wars, and there's some great episodes, and it's really. Back when I was doing Real Books on Batman, that was our first ever kind of review, was Clone Wars, and by Samurai Jack's creator, and it's fantastic. Now, I mean, we haven't even started on 2 yet because we were trying to dissect them all. So one is awful, but what do you rate 1? Like what?
Oh, what do I rate 1?
Yeah, like what? Like is it? I think 1 is like a 5 or a 6 to me. Like it's very low, maybe a 4, but it's like
a 7 for me.
Yeah,
because it could be good, but it's really not that good.
It's not. I think there's a lot to it that could be good, but it's like it's not as bad as 2. And I think 2 is where I get angry because it does have, and I mean Clone Wars proves it, is there's great stories to be told. And they choose this weird starting story instead of like actual Clone Wars crap, which would have been cool because obviously we see how cool it could be because we see Rogue One and you're like, oh, if we actually see fucking battles other than one fucking battle, like it's cool, you know, that's really awesome. That's what like Rogue One kind of proves.
Yeah.
Is that like if you showed some of the actual wars in Star Wars, it would have worked. But 2 is just a mess. It's full of sappy love stories, weird murder plots. It goes off in a billion different directions, and Lucas thinks he ties it up with a nod at the end, but at the end you just feel like you're like, oh man, like you're like, what was that? Like even the only thing redeemable in there, like,
is
really,
the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's the last 30 minutes. Like, Yoda fights Count Dooku. It's dope.
They fight Count Dooku.
Yeah, they fight
the battle in the arena.
The battle arena is great. Like, and the whole arena part is really like well done. It feels like old Star Wars. It feels like 5.
There's so many lightsabers.
A tiny bit. Like, if you wanted to feel little something, it would feel a little bit like 5 because it's all downhill. You know, like it's all bad things happening. But at the same time, it's still garbage. So it's just like...
The only reason I like Clone Wars is because of the lightsaber count.
Yeah.
So many Jedi.
So many Jedi.
And like Count Dooku and like... Yoda even pulls out his lightsaber. It's just like... It's the most, like, has to be the movie with the most lightsaber.
Yeah, and I think that's, I keep bringing it back to Rogue One, but it's just because we witnessed it recently.
No, let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
That's another reason why Rogue One's effective, is that we get an oversaturation of lightsabers in episode 1, 2, 3, and 7. Like, all the recent Star Wars films have been like, lightsaber really heavy, when the original series is like, you see a lightsaber, it's like, whoa, it's like it's like how the rule of cinema where you show a gun, you better use it by the end of the movie, is that like,
yes,
it used to be like that. Like that was the first Star Wars film, and then like, you know, he used it sometimes, but like just because they wanted to show off the effects, you know, like, but like when they use it at the end, it feels important, and so does 5 when he, you know, and 6. They all feel important when they use the lightsaber, because it's like it's an emotional duel. Somebody brought out their sword, and that's the way old movies did sword fights. It felt emotional. It's like you're getting to something, you know, like,
yeah,
and like
someone dies at the end.
Yeah,
it's
like,
dramatic,
and
like,
that's
it
why
has to be like dramatic. Yeah,
that's why 1, 2,
Someone
and
is hurt.
3 is just rough that way, because they oversaturate with tons and tons of lightsabers, which I know George Lucas was just like, more lightsabers, the more money. Yeah, everybody gets a lightsaber.
And they continue it in 3 where like they just like, yeah.
I
mean, but that's the whole point though.
Exactly. I think to rate 2, I gotta give it a 3 or a 4. It's like so fucking just in my mind. It's how angry I am that day, because 2, sometimes I could be like, there's some redeemable things here, and then sometimes I watch it and I'm just like, fuck you, you're a terrible piece of garbage, I can't believe somebody made you, you know, like
it really is like never really.
It's the redheaded stepchild of the entire. It's the Goblet of Fire of this series, because Goblet of Fire is a piece of garbage. Anybody who disagrees is garbage too. Come and fight me. I don't care. Goblet of Fire is a piece of garbage like movie. They fuck up that book so much, and like 2 feels very similar, where it's just like, here we had a good concept coming up and fucked it, you know, like, oh, totally missed it. Yeah. Here, Charlie Brown, kick this ball. Oh wow, we lifted up to you. Missed it. So 3, I think
Revenge of the Sith.
Now people all the time to me say that they prefer 3 to 6. If they were rating movies, they would say that 3 was better than 6 because it doesn't have Ewoks in it. Which I fundamentally, I love Ewoks, so I don't understand that. But some people hate them. Yeah. So I see your point of view. 3's a really solid movie. But I think it's only a really solid movie because 1 and 2 shouldn't have happened. And 3 should have just been it. Because if they had 3, that's the emotional journey. Anakin being so pissed about his wife dying that he turns to the dark side. You know, yes. and like that's the actual what the prequels should have been.
Cut out everything except for the scene where she's like 2 scenes with her.
Yeah, and then the movie's fine. You know, like even way better.
A little bit better. Like yes, I love Natalie Portman. Do not get me wrong.
No, yeah, we love her. We're not saying that she's a great actress. It's not her fault. This is a bad character with bad.
You only needed to see her twice.
Yeah, like exactly.
And she could have just been like a senator you never saw in the and she was having the baby.
Yeah.
And then the other scene is that she's dying.
Well, no, you want her connected a little bit, and but like they already They already
cut it so much though.
Milk that story in 1 and 2, and then milking it more in 3 makes it awkward sometimes.
That's what I'm saying. It should have been 2 movies. 1 and 2 should have been 1 movie,
and then
and 3 should have been 1 movie
with less. And I think there's a lot of good things going on. I think the Mustafar fight's great. Grievous is actually really fucking cool. I love Grievous. I think he's one of the better parts that come out of the prequels. Another
cool villain that the prequels come out.
Because Count Dooku's
underrated
cool,
villain,
but only because of the actors playing him. Yes. Otherwise, you know, because that's the reason why I love that.
But just Darth Maul,
yeah,
Count Dooku, General, the best,
They get some great Sith in there. They really do. It's really fun and
great villains.
And I think Ewan McGregor just keeps being awesome. I think that's the consistent. If they didn't have Ewan McGregor, I think they would have
fallen flat.
Even worse than they ever did. Yes. You know, because
they would have fallen flat.
Because he floats almost the entire
because
prequels.
He's the hero.
Because he's so good. He's able to bring such emotion to something that George Lucas sucked a lot of emotion out of.
Making it a weird story.
Yeah.
And, not about what it's really about.
Exactly. So I think that 3's a solid movie and there's cool stuff to it. It's still another prequel, so it can leave a sting with a lot of people. And I think that's why I can't rate it higher than 6 for me. Like, I think it's a great movie, but I don't think it goes higher than me. I think it has to be a 7 for me. If I had to rate episode 3, I think it would have to be a 7, maybe a 7.5 some days, but most of the time it's a 7. And
you know, it's funny, like the early 2000s were just a weird time, and like
just a weird time
for like sci-fi, so they were just like trying to do something new. So like I give it like
some credit.
Episode 3 is pretty good. It has like a pretty good story. Like just like I said, if you just cut some bits,
it's a solid movie.
It's a solid like movie.
Yeah,
with a good story.
Yeah, because it's all the dramatic moments you wanted from the prequels all happen in that movie. Luke killing the temple of not Luke. Anakin killing the temple. Him taking down the rest of the Jedi. The whole Clone War kind of ending. There's Darth Sidious taking over as Emperor. Yoda finally. How does Yoda get to where he is by the end of it? 3 does a lot of things that are really cool. But I think the next movie we have to talk about does it all better. Rogue One does everything that 3's trying to do and does it 10 times better in that last 10 minutes, last 20 minutes actually, way better than they ever, they did in the 3. Because they're trying to connect the movies in 3 and it feels great, but it feels like the jigsaw puzzle pieces aren't fully connected. In Rogue, it feels like you literally could just be watching Rogue One. Oh, you better start 4 this instant, and then you're able to move forward with the story. That's how great of a connection. It's just seamless. I think that's why Rogue One's so enjoyable to me, is that ending is so fucking seamless. It's for a story writer and it almost all of Star Wars is kind of fanfic, but at the same time it's for kind of a fanficky type of thing, it's so perfectly connected. You're oh, that's good. Oh, that's some good pasta. It's just good stuff,
right? And that's why I call it more like a prequel to New Hope, because it's way closer to New Hope than it is the third episode.
Absolutely.
It's 15, 20 years later.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of time in between Rogue One and episode 3, and I like that because you can show what the Emperor's done with his time, you can see that. And I'm sure there'll be more stories in between those times.
He kind of just destroys everything.
Yeah, exactly. He brings fucking havoc everywhere, and
he takes over.
And it's crazy. And that's what they were trying to do. The Sith, destroy the whole universe and all that crap. So that's what they're all.
And Rogue One shows the end of that.
Yeah, and I think that Rogue One's a very interesting one because it shows what Walt Disney will do to make sure the Star Wars films are great.
Can we move on to that? Rogue One?
We're on Rogue One.
Okay,
that's we're already there.
Okay, to be honest though, it's the best war movie that's come out recently, and it's the best spy movie.
I think absolutely. James,
how crazy is that spy story?
Yeah, that was. I think it's great. I think, and it really to finish what I was saying is that I think it shows that with the reshoots that they had a good story that they thought they could make money with, and they were Walt Disney was no, let's make it a good film, go out and reshoot these things and really make it great. And that's what makes this story so awesome, is that they spent the time to re-edit it, not in just a way to fucking ruin the story, but to complete the story arcs that they were kind of going for in the first place.
And I think they definitely accomplished what they were looking for.
Because in interviews, Garth Edwards, I think I'm mispronouncing that also, he was saying that they did the reshoots because they did the initial shoots and then they put the whole film together, and they assumed they wouldn't be able to kill the main characters. They assumed that was just a Disney thing. You can't kill them all.
Wow.
And then they brought it into the thing and they were no, you can kill him, go ahead.
That's
they were
crazy.
So that's why, that's why they were able to, they thought, they were we were watching it this whole time assuming you were going to kill them. So let's take it out and go and make it that happen. That's why the Darth Vader scene at the end is reshoots. So is obviously the Princess Leia stuff at the end. The they say the whole ending where they on top is reshoots because in the trailer they have the TIE fighter flying up when she's up there with the cartridge. When she's taking it out of there, in the trailer you see her walking toward a TIE fighter, which is not in the fucking movie.
Really?
So they obviously they finish the story on the beach because they have shots in the trailer of her running with the hard drive on her pocket, running across the beach, which never happens in the film. So like because she's never down there with them like that, and I think that's interesting because it obviously shows that they like kind of got away at the end in the reshoots. I mean, in the original footage, and then they reshot it to be like stop the villains, stop them. Like it all ends there, which I think is. For me, I was just like, the whole time I was like, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. And then when they did, I was like, perfect. You fucking nailed it for me. I was just like, this is actually like, that's what I wanted. I wanted consequences for this, like, for this very real kind of story with real consequences. Because like,
it's based
sure, there's
off
these giant heroes in the Star Wars episodes, that can't die because they're hero types like Luke. But like, there's these guys, like that can, and they kind of had to, like to complete their mission
and they don't exist in the universe.
Yeah, and they were able to bring people in that do exist in the universe and do show up in episode 4, 5, and 6, which is so cool. Like, cause you go from meeting those guys in those movies to learning. If you watch it in the order Jack's saying and the way we're reviewing them, you kind of meet these characters early in Rogue One at the end there, and they are war heroes. They somehow survived this terrible fucking fight against the Death Star, the Empire and the Death Star, and like they survived this like fight that shouldn't have happened, and it's like, and it's so interesting that like they get to move forward as heroes instead of just like new characters we're meeting for the first time in 4, 5, and 6. And I think it kind of makes it interesting to watch Rogue One first before 4, 5, and 6, because even though it has nothing to do exactly with the Skywalker family like the episodes do, it definitely connects to them and will embellish even further going into 4, 5, and 6.
I just think I love the characters in Rogue One.
Yep. I think the cast is really solid.
Best droid.
Best
main characters.
I think they got a great cast, some great actors. Saw Gerrera with Forrest Whitaker is awesome. Mads Milks being Jade's father. It's so and Felicity Jones as Jade. I love her. I think she's great. She's not as perfect as Rey. I will say that. Rey's a ray of sunshine. She's a perfect human being.
Wow.
But Felicity Jones is really great, and I really dug her in this role. And I think it was a really complete movie, which you don't get from any of these Star Wars films because they're always leading to a sequel. And like this is the first one that feels like and done.
It's the best thing that came out of Disney buying it. They're going to put as much money as they want in it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you just put more money in it, it becomes really good.
It can get better and better.
That's just honest.
Yeah. So
I think the new Disney movies are going to be great.
Yeah, and I think they're going to continue to be better.
Like after all that's happened, 2 movies with Disney, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they're going to be good because Disney's just going to throw as much money as they want at directors that are really good.
Yeah, and really can tell the stories that they're trying to tell. Let's do our rating of Rogue One real quick. I really enjoyed it, so I really have to give it an 8 to an 8.5. I don't know if it's perfect, but it did. I really enjoyed a lot of it.
I was definitely entertained. It was a good movie. And it was in the Star Wars universe, so I thought
I thought it was a great war movie. I thought it was fun.
Nothing fantastic out of the blue. It was just really good.
Yeah, it was really solid entry in the Star Wars universe. So moving on to the original Star Wars trilogy,
where it left off,
episode 4. So let me start off by explaining that I like this movie. I think it's the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of the Star Wars universe. It's what everyone mostly references when they talk about Star Wars.
It's really the origin.
It's a classic film. It's one of those. I'm not faulting this film for being great and being great for its time and being such a landmark movie. What I'm faulting it for is for being slightly boring and not as exciting when you look at the entire saga of Star Wars.
And being George Lucas as he is.
And George Lucas the way he is. So George is the problem with most of the films. You know, like that's what I think is the real root.
A lot of them.
A lot of them is George. And I think 4 shows his best ability. It's like it's the best he did. I think it's better than 3 personally. But it's still if you look at the many articles and books written about Star Wars, Episode 4 was garbage until the editor got their hands on it. You know, like they helped it, they put it together, really brought it all to being, and really got it all to being a more cohesive, movie, and it became the movie that we saw in theaters and in 77 like it's just
the first time around
and like that's what. And George later on fucks up all of this original trilogy, goes through and messes all up, and I don't count any of those. All of that doesn't count. None of it worked. Like most of the time it's just George Lucas sucking his own dick, he's able to take out his own rib and bend over because that's what he's doing.
I don't like it.
I don't fuck with them.
Why'd you re-edit it?
Exactly. You should have spent more time spent on the prequel movies instead of trying to F up your original films.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? But Episode 4 it's iconic. It's full of great scenes. It's just a classic film, and it's not a bad film. It just has, in retrospect, some problems.
It's just kind of okay. It's one story.
Yeah, it's one story, and
it's about Luke pretty much,
which is great. But he's whiny, and it kind of it's kind of obnoxious. But I think that I have to give it like a 7 to a 7.5 because
of what it is.
Yeah, just because what it is, and I think that, and it's also because Empire Strikes Back is so fantastic in comparison. I think that in comparison, Empire Strikes Back is a very great movie. It's one of those movies that it's amazing that it all came together and
definitely
all worked.
One of the better Star Wars.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Really
I think it's the best one hands down, and that's because it's able to feel like a sequel that will lead to another sequel while also feeling like its own contained story.
Its own movie.
It doesn't let the ties of the other films destroy it. Kind of episode Clone Wars does and Episode 3 did,
prequel,
which is just I gotta stop harking on Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but I think it has to be pointed out, it's the longest running film of the entire saga so far, and that's even worse because it's garbage, it's just like, oh good. Goodness. But that's beside the point. Empire Strikes Back is great. It may have fucked up movies forever because movies now have to think that they have to be super dark for their second film.
Yeah.
But that's how story structure is. You're supposed to struggle in the middle. So
the practical effects are fantastic.
The music's fantastic. I don't think that was said. I don't know. You were saying that before we even did this, was that John Williams is the reason why this is amazing.
Yeah, the music is just so good in all the films. Even the original series, he did all the music, and then even the prequels.
Yeah, he does a great job.
It's just so good. It's John Williams does a great job as a composer, and it's the best music of the modern era of movies.
Yeah, and I've seen him conducting the Boston Pops playing Star Wars stuff, and man, it's awesome. It's so cool. If you ever get a chance to do that, do that.
Best music.
Because it's really fantastic. Jack has the original soundtrack on vinyl. You have this original Star Wars Episode 4 on vinyl. Vinyl, that's pretty dope.
Because the soundtrack's just so good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of buying the official set that comes with a bunch of the classics from all of them.
Everything.
The entire thing. I want to get that vinyl. But I think that Episode 5 it stands above the rest as being really great, full of drama, full of great character moments, full of great battles and iconic scenes. It's just it's all around just amazing.
It just does a good job.
I sound like I'm slobbing on its knob, but there's not much to criticize it on. There's a lot of great things going on that led to lots of other great things. You can blame most of this trilogy world of movies on the Star Wars sagas. In this world where if you're going to make a series of films, you're going to make 3 of them, you can blame it on the Star Wars saga.
They were really the first to do it.
Yeah, the first, other than Flash Gordon's doing serialized movies, this was kind of the first one to be like, yeah, let's do 3 movies trilogy, and we're done, So, and I mean, sure, you're going to say Godfather, but that was afterward, and so many other things. But, now, Empire Strikes Back, I have to give that a 9 to a 9.5 because I really do think there's so many great things to it and so many iconic moments that prevail through pop culture.
It's just really good.
It's just fantastic. And I think all you have to say is great. Luke, I am your father. And then even people who have not seen Star Wars know what you're talking about.
Everyone knows that's Star Wars.
Everyone
Luke,
knows.
I am your father.
Everyone. And I think that just shows how this stands as is just an iconic piece of film.
Everyone knows who Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are. And they know, everyone knows that. And
I think it has to be pointed out that Lawrence Kasdan is the writer of this Return of the Jedi and the Force Awakens. And I think it shows because he understands Star Wars in a way that I think George Lucas cannot. George is the big picture guy. That's the reason why
he's the idea guy.
He's the idea guy. That's the reason why Indiana Jones stands out. Because it's somebody Steven Spielberg was there to be like, don't do that. But
really good ideas.
With Lawrence Kasdan writing, he was able to be like, yes, but how do we fit this into this story structure that we're forming here, this universe? And I think it shows in all of these next 3 we're going to talk about how great they are because of the writing that he was able to bring to these stories.
It's really good.
I moving on to Return of the Jedi, I think Return of the Jedi has some flaws. Yeah, to finish up the original trilogy. I think it has some flaws. I have the poster on my wall right next to us right now. It's a great film with tons of iconic imagery, plenty of fights, but it's goofy. That's the reason why people don't like it as much, is that it's kind of a goofy film.
It kind of went out of its way to be goofy.
I like it a lot because I like that goofiness, but some people hate that, and that's the reason why some people argue that episode 3 is better than 6 because it takes itself more seriously.
Which is a weird argument.
Yeah, it's a weird argument.
Just because it's more or less serious, that means it's a not
better movie. Yeah, you're like,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Episode 3? No.
Yeah, I think that 6 is really good. Sure, the Ewoks can be very annoying, but I think they're cute, so I'm with it. You
just have to show that there's more than humans being affected.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think that was kind of important. Sure, it's kind of unlikely that they would have taken out a wholly trained stormtroopers, but
it's
at
the
same
rebels,
time,
and they win with the rebels.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They had some help.
They win because the rebels are there.
It's just I think it's a very. I think what's great about Return of the Jedi is it feels like a conclusive end to the story.
It is
almost,
the end of the trilogy, yeah.
If it forever was left there, I think a lot of people are satisfied. Yes, sure, they want to write more. There's plenty of comics and there's plenty of books about what happens afterward that are now legends. So there's plenty of what people believe, could happen. And then there's... now we gonna find out through Disney, but I think
through
that
the movies,
we're gonna find out through moving forward. But I think that Return of the Jedi feels conclusive. It felt great to to
see it all come together.
See it all come together. It's like, sure, it's another Death Star, but it was a cooler looking Death Star.
At the time, too, wasn't that many.
Yeah, now we're up to a planet.
Now we're up to a planet Death Star.
And a Rogue One, which had Death Star stuff in it. You know, like, the Death Star is seeming like the actual star of the Star Wars universe instead of Anakin.
It pretty much is.
Yeah, like, it pretty much, pretty much is. But I think Return of the Jedi is goofy, and that's the reason why it could put off a lot of people, but I think it's really cool. I think it completes the story. It feels satisfying. It's got plenty of great Jedi moments and silly action, and I think it's a lot about rising up from impossible situations. Leia fighting back against Jabba, the Ewoks winning against the Stormtroopers, the Luke defeating the entire Empire, the Empire destroying the Rebels destroying another Death Star. It's all like impossible things that could have happened because of the Force, and that makes the Force even more important moving forward. That's why I think you gotta be pissed about the prequels calling them midichlorians.
Yes.
And obviously they're not acknowledging that in Force Awakens and Rogue One. So like it's
not yet.
Not yet. And I don't think they will. I think they're gonna keep away from the M word for a long time.
I don't think they'll ever use it again.
We'll just call it the M word for now, the midichlorians. But moving on to even newer stuff, kind of the last movie we can talk about completely is The Force Awakens. So The Force Awakens, this is J.J. Abrams. After he did his tryout of making Star Trek films, he went on to actually making Star Wars films, which is what he wanted to do in the first place. But and you can tell watching those Star Trek films, I think it really shows.
I think he wanted to make Star Wars the whole
Star
time.
Wars films, and that's why we can do another review another time. But I think Star Trek Beyond is better than the Star Trek Into Darkness because it doesn't feel as so like Star Warsy, as
it feels more Star Trek.
It feels more Star Trek, and that's why I like it. The first Star Trek film that JJ makes is kind of perfect, and I'm in love with it. And that's the reason why I was totally okay with him doing Force Awakens and producing, moving forward, and all that stuff. He deserves.
It's not a bad choice.
It's not a bad choice. He knows what he's doing, and he can make it. And he understands how.
He's a fan.
Yeah, he's a fan, and he understands how the fans feel. So, sure, The Force Awakens is a safe bet. That using the planet, still
the plot line.
The plot line feels very Star Wars, but but still creates their own universe. So they were taking the safe bet of being like another big planet destroying weapon, but they were like, but we also are introducing all these other things, it
was really New Hope-ish.
Yeah, it's really New Hope-ish, but sure,
also a lot of new things.
I understand why people were put off by that. I understand that they were like, oh, it's just the same as other Star Wars, but it's not. It feels different, and I understand why they took that safe bet first, because it was the first one by Disney, and people would have been pissed if they did something like Rogue One first, which was bold, which was it's still Star Wars, but it feels different in every way, and I think they do a good job in Force Awakens here, making you feel comfortable while introducing more stuff and kind of closing out the old sequel, the original saga, and moving on to this new sequel trilogy.
It sets up for the new trilogy.
And
it accomplishes its goal.
I think it accomplishes its goal. I think it's a good film. I think it's fun. I think I enjoyed a lot of it. I think everybody who's new is really cool. I think there's some slow moments, but overall,
what do you think of Kylo Ren?
I think Kylo Ren's really cool but whiny. I think,
and it fits into the Star Wars universe.
I think it fits into the Star Wars universe. But I think what has to be said is that 7 will only be truly, truly good if 8 is good.
Yes.
If 8 doesn't follow through with what 7's kind of promising, it's garbage. The same way Episode 1 is garbage because none of it amounted to... I mean, it sort of leads into 2 and 3, but all of it doesn't matter in the real thing. 3 is the only one that really has the Star Wars story moving forward events, other than the Clone Wars starting, the real happening to the Skywalker family, is
which is the main story.
It's mostly in 3, sure, we get to meet him and then watch him grow up, and then like but like the real like like Skywalker story aren't here, and if they don't deliver in 8, it's gonna make 7 look stupid. Yeah. Because I think 7's really cool, but we're hopeful. Like, we're hopeful people. We like to review things that we like. We're gonna be excited about most things except for Clone Wars, which is a piece of garbage. And I just want to just trash it apart, and you should just go home and big pieces of garbage. Garbage. But Force Awakens, it's a cool film. It's not perfect, but it could be better if 8 is great.
It sets up.
So I gotta say that
I'm excited for Disney making more Star Wars films.
I think I gotta give it a 7.5 to an 8. I think it's
definitely up there.
Yeah, it's up there. It's good, but it matters if it pulls through. Like if it moves it forward. So now let's just talk about what's coming up. So we have a Han Solo anthology film,
2018.
That's directed by the guys who did Lego Movie, 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, Clone High. They're hilarious. They're going to make this movie so effing good.
It sounds fun.
It sounds so much fun. They confirmed Woody Harrelson. They confirmed Donald Glover. I forget the name of the guy who's confirmed as Han Solo, but he seems like a solid pick, I guess.
Just a solid cast.
It's a solid cast, and I'm very excited for what's moving forward. Yeah. And we know now from Rogue One, they're going to throw as much money as they want at it. I think it's really going to be good. And then episode 8 is going to have Rian Johnson. He's the director of Looper, and he's a great, and so many other great films. Check out his his other films, because they're great, and they'll kind of give you what this next film could be like. I think we're going to get some Empire Strikes Back tones to it, but Rian Johnson knows how to bring that sci-fi creepiness to it. If you've seen Looper, you understand.
Yeah, I think it could be really good sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Star Wars, moving forward can be. And should be. And I think it's gonna be great, and I just hope that they can pull through with it. It's all 8's gonna be really cool and deal with the Knights of Ren and many other, and hopefully be all about Luke. It sounds like it's gonna be like Luke and Rey just going around doing stuff.
I hope it's Luke.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we can only wait, because that's going to be at the end of this year on the 17th of December. They are doing a great job. They've been putting out books that are canon. They've been putting out comics under the Marvel brand that have been actually really good. Vader Down is a solid read. And I think there's some really good stuff. Sure, they kind of axe the entire extended universe with all the books and the Dark Horse comics.
Which can be really good.
And that's the thing. Guys, sure, they axed it, but take it as a legend and go read it, enjoy it. If you enjoy Star Wars lore, you're going to enjoy a lot of these reads.
It's a good story.
It's a good stuff. Darth Plagueis was fun. There's lots of Clone Wars stuff that was actually really fun to read. Kind of a transition to that, we could talk about the shows, the animated shows. There's the Samurai Jack clone creators Star Wars Clone Wars series, which I think is great and fantastic and better than all the prequels combined. I can't pronounce his name, that's why I'm saying the Samurai Jack creators. Yeah. Because I'm terrible at pronouncing names, and I just don't want to insult anybody. But it's a fantastic series that needs to be witnessed. Right now, I'm watching Star Wars Clone Wars. I've seen the movie, and I'm on season 2 of Clone Wars right now. Yeah. And I'm digging it. It's really cool. The battles look great, and so do the animation and the colors. I think it's a really cool looking show. And I just want to get to Star Wars Rebels, but I don't want to cheat and skip Clone Wars.
So just watch them. You're watching them all.
I'm watching them all in a row. I want to get to and I know they don't really connect, but at the same time, I want to. I feel like I'm cheating. And I mean, you haven't seen any of these guys, the Rebels, and no,
not really, not too much.
So that's a whole nother thing you could dive into.
There's a show,
yeah. There's all the shows now. Game wise, there's plenty of games. The MMO's still going on. Knights of the Old Republic. And you've played a little bit of that. And you like that?
It's just the Star Wars story,
which is cool. I'm cool with that. It's all
Star Wars is fun.
It's gonna be great. I mean, it's good that they continue on doing it. You know, even though they haven't really confirmed if the Knights of the Old Republic are still canon yet, but they're still continuing on the MMO. So like, so I assume it's all canon then. And I mean, and some of the Disney games haven't been good for Disney so far because they canceled the Boba Fett game and they canceled the Darth Maul game, which like sounds like two very dark Star Wars games, which doesn't sound up Disney's alley, which is probably why they canceled them.
But Darth Maul looked really good.
It did look really good, and you could see the concept art online. It looked good, but they did put out Star Wars Battlefront, which was not as good as Star Wars Battlefront 2 or
apparently
1. The old ones.
Disappointment.
It just didn't play as well. I didn't like playing it. Just didn't play the same, and it didn't really catch me. But I really. I'm sure tons of people did like it. It just didn't work for me. Now, I don't think there's any others. I mean, I'm sure there's more Star Wars that we're forgetting.
There's plenty of Star Wars somewhere.
Please leave down the comments below Star Wars we missed in this review. We tried to cover a lot of Star Wars very quickly and shortly.
Your opinion?
Put your opinions down below in the comments. We want to hear them. We want to hear what you guys think we missed, because then we'll give our opinion about it. We'll definitely comment below what we think of them, or we'll include it in a future podcast, whatever.
Talk about new Star Wars then, and
yeah, and I mean, we'll definitely have something to say about 8 when it comes out in December. You know, like there's lots to look forward to. Star Wars, if Disney has their way, we'll have basically 1 to 2 Star Wars films a year until we die.
It'll be really good.
So really good stuff, and Disney will make billions of dollars and be very, very happy. But thank you guys for listening into our kind of long podcast about the whole Star Wars saga.
Everything Star Wars.
Everything Star Wars. Thank you so much for listening in. Please subscribe. Please, listen to the other podcasts. And, tell a friend. So that way we can get the word out and record more podcasts. Thank you guys for listening in. I hope you have a great one.
Bye.